All right, now we are going to get practical with tasks in your project labs provided by JSS. So here, if you look at it, we are in Explore Windows Server and Windows Client Machines, and you have finished the important video before starting tasks. That has all the important information, so do not miss that. Please make sure you fully watch this 6 minutes. Now, if that's done, let's click on task 1 and get started. So what can we accomplish from task 1 by just installing a Windows server on Hyper-V? What is the accomplishment of that? One is when you go to the descriptions, if you're new to IT and you're looking for a job, you're going to come across operating system like servers, right? So one, it's going to give you the confidence because we see this a lot on IT support descriptions. So when you do something like that, it's just personal confidence that you're going to gain by doing it practically. The second purpose is when you have a resume like this, when you use our resume template and you go out for jobs, then of course having that like server administration or server maintenance or putting a server names in here depending on what positions you're applying to. For IT support, you'll just put a server like 2022, 16, 19, just like that. And of course later on you're going to learn a lot about Active Directory too at this level. So if you're a job seeker, then this is like breaking the ice between you and a technical manager who's taking your interview. That's just a confidence. And if you are already working in a company, then actually going inside and performing this task just gives you more confidence for learning more inside your own company. And that is just the way we learn things. We want to do things. Sometimes we don't want to touch things because we're scared of messing things around. And that comfort zone is basically we want to move you away from that comfort zone. So by doing this task, that is what we are going to counter from this task 1. There's no assignment to submit, but you need to do it because later on, if you did not do all of these steps, then maybe you will have a lot of issues with your tickets, which you definitely need to submit for certificate. All right, so now let's get started. So let's go back to the portal. You logged in. You right-clicked on the app server A and clicked on desktop. If this is not available, you know how to do this right from your first videos. You're gonna right-click here and click on VNC. That's another way to click to connect, and now you're inside the server. So I'm showing you 2 ways before we get started. But let's go back to the main source, which is basically what we want you to use, which is this one. Right-click, desktop. All right, so let's go ahead and install 2022 server on Hyper-V that you have access. So let's go ahead and click on send or control delete and log in with your password. So we are going to open Hyper-V, which is available on your app server right here, or you can go to search and type Hyper-V and search for Hyper-V Manager and open it. So now this is the Hyper-V Manager installed on the server. And inside the server, you can install more virtual machines. So this is something basics of virtualization. So let's go to the systems of this server. So when you click on system, you can see you have a lot of good RAM available for you to practice. By clicking on the system, you also know that which domain are you connected to. So if you're working in a company, you can right click and go to system. If the machine is joined to the domain, you will also find that domain information. So we know some of the basic information at this point in the Hyper-V that you have access. So to install an operating system on Hyper-V, all you got to do is to click on new, and here you're going to click on virtual machine. Then you will click on next, and then here you are going to name it demo server. Now do remember that we are going to delete this later because we already have server. So this is just for you to understand how to do the installation. So you can keep everything default. Just give it domain server name. And we are going to click next here. We're going to use generation 1 for this specific lab environment. In some cases, some people are using generation 2, and that could have more modern hardware available for that. But we're not going to use generation 2, and we're going to use generation 1. Now, for RAM, because you are you have 16 GB RAM, but you're not going to use the whole 16 GB RAM for this virtual machine. That's something you already know from the very basics of virtualization, right? Because you have maximum 16 GB, you got to give your host some RAM, and also make sure that there's no other machines running in this demo example when you're following this. So then you will have smooth experience. So give it 8 GB RAM, click next, and then here you will select the network, which is basically available to you here, and you're going to click next here. So every time when you're installing an operating system or a server in a virtual environment or even in a real hardware, space is very important. You can't just, if it's tell you that, okay, we're going to put 127, that's what Microsoft have added there, but that's not what we need, right? So what you need to do to understand how the space works in any type of systems, in Windows, you can simply click on File Explorer on the bottom, click on this PC. So by looking at this, does it really make sense that we would put the virtual machine on when there is only 8 GB left? So this is where you should stop now and go to internet and find what is the requirement, the minimum requirement to install a server operating system. You see, this is skill now. You're going out there quickly finding something on your own, and once you find the number, you can come back and now you can target specific drive. But none of these two will be passing that list, because we may want to go for, like, let's say 35 GB, which is a minimum requirement, and there could be more than that too now. But in real world environment, you don't put a server, you don't install a server only for 35 GB. Of course, it has to be more than that. So make sure you understand how that this works. Disk management is something that you probably learned from the fundamental course that you did in our IT fundamental courses, and that's where you learn about how to manage disk and stuff like that. But in this server, you can still do some hands-on, task by right-clicking into this server. Right-click on the Windows, go to disk management. This is where you're going to see your disk management, where if you have extra space available, then you will see all of the disk right here. Now, if you scroll down, you see that we have added another disk as well, disk 2 with 50 GB. And in real world cases, this is exactly how things are happening in the companies, because most of the times when you're installing operating systems, or let's say if you're given an option to even install a server, then you need to understand how to first take care of the storage. So this is where it's available to you for your project. So you can right click on this and click new simple volume, click next, then click next again, and then you can leave it as F drive. That's the letter. We're going to click next. You want to keep this NTFS, and this is where it says perform a quick format. We can do that and finish. So once you finish this, disk will be formatted and it will be live for us to use. Then it will become online. You see how it's a new volume F. You could change the name if you wanted to, but let's go back now and let's click on this PC, and you see that we have new volume available. And now you see that our disk is showing even less space than what we saw before. That's because maybe there are updates running in this section, which we're going to come back later on to fix some of these disk related issues. So now if you go back, you can actually change this number, because remember, we don't have that number, and also the location. You definitely don't want to use that C location. You just created a new location, so we can add this virtual machine, and we're going to select that folder. So here now we can basically give it like 35, let's say, and that's just for you to have no issues. So we're going to click next now. So what is this? Install an operating system from bootable CD-ROM. If you remember from your fundamental courses, you can install a operating system in a file format, which we call it ISO.ISO. So you can go to Google, type Windows Server 2022 evaluation,
and then click on the link and download it. We have already downloaded it. Again, this is very fundamental stuff, so I already assume you know this stuff. But if you don't know where this download is available, you can go to download here, and you see we have some softwares available for you. So this is the server ISO that we will use. Where did we get this from? We went to Google, type server 2022 evaluation download, and then click on the links, and then it will take you to the download. 64-bit is what we are using. So let's go ahead and click on browse, go to download, and then we're going to pick the server. So we use a server ISO, and we're going to click next and finish it. So now before we start this virtual machine, we need to make sure we give it enough virtual CPUs, processor power, so it will have no issues. Let's go ahead and turn this one off. And we're going to right click, go to settings. So you see in virtualization, you can go to the BIOS, you can change things, you can go to security, memory, processor. You know this about virtualization. That's the power. I can go back and change some of the things that you can do in the hardware. Meaning, if you have a laptop or a server, you can just go there and start clicking on things and change RAM and stuff like that, because it's kind of like a hardware, right? You have to open it up, change it manually with the different hardware physical devices. So here, this is the power of virtualization. I can just come here and change the CPU. Now, why do we use two virtual processor for most of the VMs? That's just requirements for basic running systems and doing some tasks. More than this, of course, you will have to know why do you need more than this. A lot of SQL servers or some other highly intensive applications does need that. But if you go beyond a certain limit, then you can also slow down the machines. So just know that. So we use only two and 8 GB RAM just to make sure we don't have any issues. And we're going to click on apply and OK. And here you're going to now start the server. So once the server is running, you can go ahead and click on connect. This is how you connect to the machine inside your server. So this is your virtual machine inside running your app server that you have access. So you see right here, demo server. And we're going to go ahead and click on maximize this so we can see the whole screen. And when your server gets started, it will automatically get to this section. So we need to click next here. And here you will click on install. We're going to select the Windows 2022 Data Center Evaluation. Now, this is probably not your skill set to pick which server that you need to use in your company. Again, this is going to be a systems administrator. If a company do give you this requirement to install a server, you definitely will want to ask which one are we using, and you can definitely ask why are we using this one to go learn more. But this is something that they will tell you, because this is about licensing. Somebody have to pay for this stuff. So that's not a help desk related skill. So let's go ahead and click next. Accept the agreement, click next again. And then remember, when you're installing a server from scratch, you need to use custom. If you're upgrading a server from one version to another, meaning like it's a 2016 server and you want to go to 19 or 19 to 22, you would do the upgrade if you want to keep your files. Here we're doing custom. We're going to select the space, and that's the only space we have, and click next. Now the rest you just have to wait till it's finished, and once it's done, you're going to see a full server being installed from scratch, and you will have that to work on. Now your server is ready. So you can see this is the first screen that you will get when you install a server. So here, use the same lab password that we have given you, so then you have no issues. So you see when you add the new password on the server virtual machine, once you get to that point, you have to do all control delete. If you put the mouse inside the screen, it will not work because these are servers. So you have to go to the action and click on control or delete. And then this will show you the screen for the login inside that VM that you are creating right now. So let's go ahead and put the password again, and this will take us inside the server. So at this point, you have successfully installed a Windows server on Hyper-V. Remember that this is a skill that you're doing right now. You're not just doing this just because you installed it. You want to capture these wording inside your skills development or interviews. You installed a server, Windows Server 2022, on a Hyper-V, which is a Windows Microsoft solution. So right now the server is going to be up and ready. So let's go back and let's talk about some other things that you can talk about in your project, or because you don't want to just say, I went to Hyper-V and installed a server, right? That's very common and people are not going to be very impressed with that. So let's go and check your space issue again. So let's go back to this PC. And now you have a problem. And I'm sure when you look at this screen, you can detect it right away. 292 MB free space in C drive. C drive is like your main drive where your current app server applications and operating system is running. So remember, that's very important. If we go below that, we will have all sort of issues. You will not be able to run almost all of the applications, even the Hyper-V. So that would be a critical issue. So that this happens very common in companies where we do things, we forget, we put stuff on it, and then we have issues, and people start complaining about their applications. If it's a web-based application, they're accessing, let's say, some sort of accounting application through this server from a website. Now remember, they all will have issues, right? So how do we solve this type of issues? I'm just going to show you one technique. Of course, there are many other ways you can fix it. You can basically go to the C drive and check from the Windows to check the space and everything. I'm going to show you an external tool that you can use for this as well. So with this tool, we need to detect where is our biggest files in a very nice and easy way. So let's go to internet and download a tool called Space Sniffer. It is going to look like this, Space Sniffer from this first site. Make sure that's the same site. So let's go ahead and click on it. And then we're going to click on download. And then we will click on alternative download location. And then on the left side, click on the first release. So let's go ahead and click on that. So this is a zip file. We need to unzip it. You already know this from basics of how to do unzipping. Right click and extract all. So then click on extract. And this will extract it into the same location. So we'll have a folder available now. So that's the folder that we need to get in to get that application. So once you get into the application, what you need to do here, you need to right click on the Space Sniffer application and run it as administrator. You could do this on any drive. We're going to click yes. Here you can even put the remote path, or we were looking for C because C is having issue, right? So we're going to double click on this and then run this. And now we need to find out where is our space being used. And that's just the skill that you're learning. Remember, that's not just for this issue. This is for you to understand. If you're having issues with any Windows operating system, you could run this tool and find out where is the problem, because it could be logs getting built, it could be updates getting added every day, it could be some sort of error generating and causing issues. It could be someone downloading stuff in your server. It could be you downloaded a lot of stuff, which in our case seems like that's what we did. Like if you look at the help desk admin, there's a 15 GB downloads available. So look at this. This is under download. So we already know we detected the issue because 15 GB is a lot for our lab, and you can see other are not that. I'm too worried about the other ones because that could be useful for us. But these are just the files. So then when we created an extra space, can we use that? Yes, that's how you solve solutions. If you didn't have the extra space available here, like said this one, then you would talk to someone and request for extra space if you can make it, right? If you don't have that capability to add it, then you will have to tell somebody that we need to get extra space because either we need to put this on some sort of remote location, these downloads, or we need to put it right here to solve our issue with the C drive because none of other stuff will work correctly. So what we are going to do, we're going to go into our F drive and use this extra space and click on download. I create a folder, downloads, and let's go back to downloads. And we're going to select all of these downloads because we know this was the cause of our issue, and we're going to basically copy and go to our new F drive, go back to the download and paste it. So what we're doing, we're solving a solution problem with a inbuilt stuff that we already have. This is a very common thing that we need to do when we install things like operating system. So I'm showing everything in one flow. So in reality, this is how exactly what happens because you're installing servers, you're installing applications, and then you will come across issues. And if you haven't come across this type of things, you have not done this, you will come across it. And then people ask these questions in interviews. Okay, I mean, server installation is not is everybody does that in the lab, but what have you come across? Like when you install server, what else do you do? Like what do you need to make sure, or is there any issue that you came across? Can you tell us something about it? When you talk about these things, this is where they know you're a little more than just a professional who does lab type of work, right? You have done little more stuff. Now you're doing a project here. So with this project and doing all this stuff, you have more to say, break the ice, and build the confidence. So we have successfully copied. Let's go back to the downloads now. This is your main download in C drive, this right here, and delete it, not from the new place. So let's go ahead and delete everything that we have downloaded. We're gonna skip this one part because that's already open. So let's do it. There you go. So delete it. Now you see our space went back, and let's go and close this application. Let's go back to the folders again with this PC, and you see now your C drive looks healthy. And that's how you have done a full collective thing with installation. Now, of course, if people have already taken care of their spaces, everything is working smooth and nice, yeah, it will have no issues. Whatever you have done to install a server like this one, that's it. You just have to do that. So here you're going to click, once you go back to your server, remember you're inside the virtual machine inside your Hyper-V. If you forget, you can always go back to the Hyper-V right here, right click on that server that you're installing, click on connect, and you're going to get back into that and you can maximize it. So this indicates that you are inside a RDP using like a remote desktop connection to that virtual machine. So we're going to click on yes here, and now you have a server running inside your environment with no problem. So that's it for the first task. But let's go back to the course and talk about this task from an interview perspective. So whatever you have done so far, what type of questions can people ask you based on, let's say you put this in your resume now, you have done Windows Server installation 2022, or you put something 2022 or server. Now, maybe someone can take that and start asking you question, or you put Hyper-V in your resume, or Active Directory, or virtualization. So people can start getting questions from your resume. Now, what kind of questions can people ask you if you put something like that? So they can say, can you describe the specific disk management tasks you performed during the installation of Windows Server? What challenges did you encounter while configuring this server for Active Directory? They're not saying what challenges have you encountered installing. They're saying the server because you put server 2022 or server or Hyper-V, right? And how did you overcome them? Could you elaborate on the benefits of using Hyper-V for server virtualization in this project? Now, even if they're using VMware or some other solutions, they still understand what Hyper-V is because it's so famous. So they could definitely ask this question. In what ways did this hands-on project enhance your skills in systems administration and server management? Now, this could be maybe when you start talking about your projects that you have done this and this and this, they may start throwing this type of questions. How did you ensure the stability and reliability of Windows Server setup for Active Directory implementation? Now, this is very important because maybe that's what they want to test to. Like they know these things, right? Whatever we have done right now, we just came across issue, we fixed it. So they may start twisting things like that and not going to be like, oh, did you know how to install a Windows Server? Everybody knows that, right? They may put something like this. So, can you discuss any specific best practices you followed? And that's what you just did in this project. You just came across an issue and you countered it, you fixed it, and you now know how to do things, right? So, your answer could be something similar to what you have done because you really want to utilize what you're doing in these projects. So, this is where you can come and modify your answer based on what really flows good for you or smoothly for you in your own way. In my recent project, I installed Windows Server 2022 using Hyper-V. I carefully managed disk space to prevent any issues and successfully configured the server for Active Directory implementation. This hands-on experience sharpened my systems administration skills and demonstrated my ability to set up and manage servers effectively. So remember, this can only be done when you go back and start uh, doing this practice with somebody like your family members or friends or somebody or yourself in the mirror, because the hiring manager will only take you serious when things are coming out of your mouth very clean, clear, and with confidence. And what you have just done right now, that can really, really break some ice. So this is all you can do with this one task. And we will go back to the second task, which is going to be Windows 10 installation and Windows 11 installation. We're going to cover Windows 11 installation only because that's the new operating system. The rest, of course, it's the same process. You can also try it yourself. Thank you and see you in task 2.